What's good with YouTube? Y'all already know Big Flacco with the convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, slide on through with a little bit of energy. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, and hit that bell notification for future fire contents. So, as you can tell, man, I'm gonna be doing a little bit of a series, man. Prison 101, what not to do. I'm also gonna probably do one on how to survive in prison. So I'm gonna have these little topics, right? Just to give you guys a better understanding of the do's and don'ts of prison, how to make it, and hopefully you don't have to go to prison, right? But a lot of people are still intrigued on what inmates have to do on a day-to-day basis, how they survive, and what not to do. So we're going to start this off, man, with number one, and what not to do in prison. Never, ever walk through, use, or disrespect another group's territory, or basically what you would call real estate. On any prison yard you go to, there's been established things such as toilets, showers, benches, and whatnot. Areas where one group will congregate, take care of their business to where they feel safe. Every group has this on any given yard. One of the first things as a new inmate at any prison, any facility, any yard that you're going to want to find out is what areas belong to your people. What can you use? Where can you use it? Every institution is going to be different. But what you got to realize, in some institutions, groups have gone to war, have fought for those things that they have. And for anybody to sit there and just not respect that and think that they can just walk and go anywhere that they want, it's just not going to happen. That should be the first thing that your people run you down with when you get to a yard. And basically, you always want to keep that respectful distance. Like, don't take no shortcuts walking through a group's area. That could be the quickest way for someone just to take flight on you instantly, but not respecting that space. Been round down on what areas or whatnot, just use your common sense. Don't try to come in there, just jump on the phone just because you see a phone open. Don't just go sit at any random table. Respect on a prison yard is like the biggest thing. And see, what little that an inmate has, they're going to hold on to that. Any group that's established themselves, they're not going to give anybody the privilege just to use their stuff. You know what I'm saying? That's an act of disrespect, which can lead to an act of war. Just look at the situation that happened when me and a homie hang out. They were in our territory, our side of the yard, and we had a understanding with all the groups that no one was going to be posting up on our side of the yard until 5 minutes before basically yard recall. And this what happened with the Woods. Now, part of the reasons why the Woods were trying to push a hard line that night was they were saying that a lot of the blacks weren't honoring the agreement, that they were just posted up by the buildings on their side of the yard. And what we pretty much stated was, we can't answer for what the blacks do or what that group does. You got to get at them. And that was a problem because all the groups that were pretty much like the Crips, the Bloods, the Cats, they all followed protocol. They knew what to do as far as when to go on that side of the yard, when to post up and when not to. So they weren't doing that. But it was the individuals that ran civilian, that didn't run with anybody, that would sometimes violate certain protocols, right, in territories, that would sometimes lead to issues. There's been instances, with all groups, because somebody doesn't try to find out what the rules are on that yard. They may not belong to any group. They start to do as they please, or just don't even ask. They just do it. Oh, I'm not involved in that stuff, and they feel like there's going to be no consequences. I know there's been issues with the Southsiders and blacks based upon this. They see someone that's just a regular civilian. Nobody's explained to him what side of the yard or what bench. He goes and does as he please. And the next thing you know, you got a bunch of Southsiders jumping on a black guy, which will kick off a fucking riot. It happens all the time. So even if you don't belong to one of these groups like the Crips, the Bloods, Kumi, and you're just a civilian and you're black, you should still find out from somebody, hey, what areas are we allowed to kick it in? You know what I mean? There's always going to be a spot where civilians can pretty much post up, and sometimes you may associate with one of the groups either way, right? But the same thing with the whites, same thing with the Asians, others, and all that, man. There's all different areas, and that must be respected. If not, be prepared for war, straight up. Go into prison, find out, what's the do's and don'ts as far as on the yard. What areas can you basically post up at? What bar work can you use? Is there any neutral areas? Sometimes on a prison yard, you'll have neutral areas. Whoever gets to it first can use it. Whether you're affiliated, whether you're northerner, southerner, black, white, Asian, There's always going to be someone that could basically fill you in on what areas you can basically post up in. I'm in prison. We used to share all our areas basically with all the other black cars. But sometimes we would have something that was specifically ours, a Pacific table, a Pacific maybe phone, some things we would share as well. It depended on what our numbers were. Now, since the end of all hostilities and people are out there in the main lines, I'm pretty sure that they pretty much have everything more unlocked as far as the do's and don'ts, as far as the territories and areas. And I'm pretty sure every group, or even those that are civilians, are got at immediately to prevent any type of mishaps. Now, I wouldn't know how it would be on a SNY. That's going to be a whole different, pretty much fucking, whole different issue to look at, you know. But even there, they have people who've established tables and phones and whatnot for their group. And it may vary from yard to yard and building to building. Now, respecting one's real estate and territory can also mean respecting their space as well. Like, say if you're in a dorm living, and over here's a table where let's say the North Daniels are basically, kick back, they do their drawings, they play their pinochle, whatever it may be, and they're in a position where they're sitting down. Don't be like standing up right behind them, like 5 feet, 7 feet, where you're within striking distance and think it's going to be okay. Someone's going to eventually say something because you're posing a threat. If you're within striking distance where they're in a prone position, they're going to say something about that. You see, all these rules have been established through politics so people can, have tables, have showers, have phones, and have all this stuff, where they share with their own group, and then no other group or race can pretty much intervene or tell them they can't do it. That's just how prison politics work. So when you get to a yard, you want to find all this out. What areas can you pretty much post up at? What phones can you use? What are the requirements? What showers can you use? All that stuff you want to find out. See, the thing why, though, you want to find out early is, say if you do it not knowing, and say, oh, I didn't know or whatnot, there's always that chance the person who's getting at you may come at you disrespectful and you give a response back. And it just becomes a tick for tack of words that turns into something bigger than what it is. That's why I said you got to find out all the basics right when you get there. That should be your first priority right there, is knowing, where, who, what, when, why on that prison yard, so you don't pretty much violate any group's territory or real estate. And at the same time, they don't violate you or disrespect you. And like I said, there's almost always going to be somebody that could tell you. And just this basic step, right, of showing that much respect could really prevent a lot of fucking headaches. Because like I said, just basically violating a group's territory, right, can just fucking turn into something that goes from fucking where things are peaceful in the yard to where it's all out fucking war. And nobody wants war at the end of the day. When you have war, it means you get off. It means visits get took. It means commissary gets took. It means yard gets took. And nobody wants to be in that cell fucking 24/7. And like I said, if you violate a group space, like say if you try to walk between their tables where they're at, where you're pretty much within striking distance, say if someone's working out and you try to walk through their post, or someone's using a pistol and they have a security post and you try to walk through it, that security post is going to take flight on instinct. So that's another thing. Just don't think that taking shortcuts, you can just go through anybody's area. Just because you're respecting their area, you're not posting up, doesn't mean you could just walk through it. Always give that distance, right? Always give that striking distance, because if you don't and you get too close, someone's going to react. Anyways, like I said, this will eliminate a lot of problems, man. Just respecting what boundaries are there. Stick to where your people congregate, and you'll be all right for the most part. You know what I'm saying? Prison's prison. It's a very volatile environment. It's a very dangerous environment. But this right here will eliminate a lot of unnecessary headaches that you may bring onto yourself or to your own group. With that said, this is Prison 101 on what not to do.